and I hope you can see my PPT. So in this chapter, unit number 3 of paper 3, we will be talking about soils and natural vegetation. Okay, my reference books remains the same. So I'm using R.C. Tiwari, Geography of India, D.R. Khullar, India Comprehensive Geography, and also the book written by myself and my friend. So these are the basic references that I am using. As far as contents of this chapter are concerned, we will be basically talking about soil and natural vegetation both. Just a minute, let me allow someone. This is the last person I'm allowing. Okay. So in this chapter, we will talk about classification of soils in India, and we will also talk about problems associated with soil and how to correct them, or how to the remedies, again with reference to India. So 3.1 and 3.2 both are related with soils of India, while 3.3, 4 and 5 are related with the natural vegetation or forest. So in 3.3 we'll talk about classification of forests in India. 3.4 we'll talk about importance of forests in Indian context, and in 3.5 we will talk about deforestation and measures of forest conservation in India. So this is the framework of our chapter. So let us start with 3.1, classification of soils in India. You all of us know that soil is nothing but the uppermost layer of the earth crust, and it is basically composed of a very loose material that occupies the topmost part of the earth's crust, and we call it as soil. The soil is formed, all of us know, basically due to weathering. The rock weathers into pieces and gradually leads to the formation of soil. But it is not just weathering that contributes to soil, but there are various factors including parent rock. There are various other factors such as temperature, humidity, the biotic elements that also lead to formation of soil in India. Now, just remember one important thing before we go into different type of soils in India, that the maturity of the soil, okay, how mature the soil is, basically depends upon for how much time the soil is lying there. Okay, because time is a very important factor of soil formation, because there has to be some time for all the processes of soil formation to act upon the soil. Okay, and therefore you will find we will use this terminology of mature soils or immature soil, right? And by that we basically mean the soils that are completely developed and where the soil formation process is over. Okay, by immature soils I mean that the soil formation process is still going on. Okay, and the complete formation or the soil formation is not yet complete. Okay, and therefore soil is still raw or soil is still less mature. Okay, so this is the word that I'll be using. Similarly, we will also use the word in situ and ex situ. These are the words which we have done in our first year geography. They are not included in the slide, and you are not also expected to talk about it in your answer. Just I am reminding you before we actually start our discussion on distribution of soils in India. Okay, so I will be using the word in situ and ex situ. As you know, in situ means the soil that is formed where the rock was found, where the parent rock was found. So the soil is in situ soil is the soil that is found where it is formed, and ex situ is the soil that is transported from its original place. Okay, so where the soil was formed, it gets transported, okay, as maybe as a part of mass wasting, I mean gravity, or maybe due to other agents of erosion, and so the soil is found somewhere else completely, a different place altogether, and such soils are called as ex situ, that is soils that are not found where they are found. Okay, so we will be using these in situ, ex situ, and this kind of terminology. Okay, so let us move ahead and then we'll talk more about soils. So this is a map of soil distribution of India. Okay, now this is a very basic and map, and the map that gives you a very broad, typology of soil. Otherwise the type of soils are innumerable, and there are a large number of soils in India with tremendous variety. And you know that the variety in soils basically comes due to the variety in climatic conditions, in topography or relief conditions. And we have already studied in our first chapter about the diversity, the geographical diversity of our country in various terms, or with regard to many aspects, including geography, relief, and temperature. So this diversity in its geography leads to the diversity in terms of soil. Okay, we have different kind of rocks. Our geology is also quite diverse, and so the geology, the climate, the relief, the topography, so these factors do play a very significant role in creating the kind of diversity that India has as far as the soil typology is concerned. Okay, so we have mountain soils, we have alluvial soils, we have desert soils, we have ragur soil, or also called as the black ragur soil or black cotton soil. We have red soil, laterite soil, and as well as marshy and saline soils. So these are the different kinds of soil that we have. As you can see in the map, the distribution is quite uneven. We don't find one particular type of soil everywhere, though there are some type of soils which are predominant. Okay, now which we'll discuss one by one. So these are the types of soils that we will be talking about, as already mentioned by me. Uh, Now I have made deliberately in a tabular format because because that will be easy to study for you. You can learn it more easily, and you know that what should be written in exam. So in exam, you will write paragraphs on each type of soil. Okay, and now with this table, you know that your paragraph should talk about formation, talks about the composition, talks about the characteristics. Okay, what crops can be taken in this soil, and what is the distribution, what are the location or areas where this particular soil is found. So all that you can get at one glance with the help of this table. Please remember, in answer you are not expected to draw the table like that, but you are expected to write a paragraph based on it. Okay, as the name suggests, alluvial soil are the soils that are made up of alluvium. Okay, that is a silt that is brought down by rivers, okay, and deposited along the banks of the rivers. Okay, and we know about the Ganga Yamuna plains and the annual floods that experienced along the banks of these rivers, and how every year the river keeps on depositing the silt, okay, leading to extremely thick alluvial soil in the region of Ganga Yamuna plains. We have done that in the chapter on physiographic division in chapter number 2. Okay, alluvial soil is India's predominant soil. I mean, it occupies very large area. About 44% of a geographical area of the country is occupied by alluvial soil. Okay, alluvial soil, if you see the composition, it is rich in potash and lime, and it is poor in phosphorus and humus. Okay, you may be remembering the term humus. By humus we mean, what is humus? Humus is a decayed material. It's a decayed organic material. It is usually, if it is fully developed, fully decayed, then it is in very deep black color, and many times very large quantity or large proportion of humus also gives a blackish black color to the soil. Okay, now remember that when we talk about soil that is rich in particular elements and poor in particular elements, now that is very important as far as the agriculture is concerned. Okay, in next semester we will be discussing, or we have a paper on agricultural geography of India. Okay, and from that point of view, I want you to remember these different type of soils and which soil is rich in what and poor in what. Okay, because you know that every crops has their own requirement. Okay, even crops require certain minerals, okay, certain important nutrients, so that they can grow very well. They do not have only specific climate and physiographic requirements, but crops also have very unique soil requirements. Okay, so if you have crops that require phosphorus, require humus, then you will find such kind of crops cannot be grown in the soil which is deficient in it, right? So obviously then you need to apply fertilizer. Okay, you need to add fertilizer to the soil that contains the minerals or nutrients that are missing in the natural composition of the soil. Okay, so remember this particular part. Okay, as far as characteristics are concerned, alluvial soil is a ex-situ soil. As you know, ex-situ is transported soil, because you know that the soil is made in the mountainous areas due to the weathering, while the river brings it down. And when the river brings it down from mountainous slope to the Ganga plains, okay, then during the process also, you know that the weathering process takes place, and the soils are deposited, which is formed in the hilly and mountainous areas of Himalayan foothills or the middle Himalayas. But we can find that those soils are actually found at different place, that is in the Ganga plains, middle Ganga plains to be particular. So they are called as ex situ kind of soil. Now what is the texture? Now the texture also varies. What do we mean by texture of a soil? By texture of a soil, we particularly mean about the size of particle, the size of soil particle. Okay, if the size of soil particle is very large, then we call it as coarse. Okay, if it is medium, we call it as medium texture. And fine texture means when the soil particles are too tiny, too small in their size. Okay, why texture is important? Because texture is important because it decides the interparticulate space. ओके यदि टेक्सचर कोर्स होगा, मतलब यदि सॉइल के पार्टिकल्स थोड़े लार्जर होंगे, लार्जर इन साइज, देन दे विल हैव a capacity, and so in that case the interparticle space will be more. Okay, I mean the space between two particles will be more, and it is easier for water to seep through. Okay, but if the soil is very fine in texture, okay, then such soils quickly becomes waterlogged. Okay, because the percolation of water through it becomes a very difficult and task, because the interparticulate spaces are very narrow. Okay, and so the soil water takes a very long time to percolate, waterlogged. Okay, and they remain wet for a very long time, right? And so yeah, as far as alluvial soils are concerned, the texture varies from different regions of the river or of the Ganga plains. So the coarser texture is found in the upper course region, medium texture is found in the middle course region, while very fine texture is found in the lower course region. This is obvious if you remember our weathering discussion. Okay, as the rocks break into pieces in the upper course, okay, and as the river flows through and river brings those large pieces of rocks, okay, along with it, in the process also the rocks breaks into pieces due to various processes that we already have discussed in our first year discussion of weathering and erosion. Okay, similarly you can mention about the Khadar and Bhangar soils. Okay, you know that the Khadar soils are newer soils, the soils that have been deposited quite recently, as compared to the Bhangar soils, which are the soils that are older in nature. Okay, so this discussion we already had in our physiographic region, so the same discussion or same points you can refer here. As far as crops are concerned, alluvial soils are best suited to crops like rice, wheat, sugarcane, cotton, oil seeds. Okay, remember it's a quite fertile soil because of lot of silt or because lot of alluvium that is brought along with the river. And most importantly, as far as Ganga plain is concerned, the soil is so thick, the thickness of the soil is so much, okay, that there is enormous scope for the development of roots and all that. Okay, so these are the crops that are grown or more suitably grown in this particular soil. As far as distribution is concerned, okay, this map will give you the overall distribution, and you can see that alluvial soil occupies a considerable area of our country. So it includes the almost entire northern plains, right from Punjab, Haryana to Assam. It also includes the delta regions. Okay, so it includes the Mahanadi delta. It obviously includes the Ganga Brahmaputra delta. It also includes, if you can see, the Andhra Pradesh region. It also includes the Krishna Godavari delta, the Kaveri delta to the south. Okay, so all the major delta regions of our country and the riverine plains are also are the part of the alluvial soil. Some portions of Gujarat also, as you can see, are due to have this kind of soil. Okay, so these are some pictures of this alluvial soil. Just see how thick it is. Okay, and most importantly, please note the difference in color. Okay, note the difference in color. Okay, the one at the bottom is brown in color, while the one at the top is more deeper, a deep black in or deep brown in color. Okay, so that is the important color difference. Also you can also see a lot of roots in the soil. Okay, that also talks about tremendous thickness, okay, in this soil. Similarly, you can also find soils of grayish color. Now this depends upon whether the soil is deposited for considerably longer time before or very recently. Okay, so you can see here the color varies into different shades of gray. Okay, and these are some just representative picture of sugarcane fields in the northern plains, the wheat fields of Punjab. Okay, so these are some important regions where we can find these sugarcane and wheat fields of the northern plains. Okay, so that is about alluvial soil. So let us continue our discussion to the next type, to the red soil. Why red soils are important and what are they? Now, red soils are second important soils in India in terms of the area occupied by them. 19% of geographical area of the country are occupied by red soils. Okay, and how are they formed? So they are formed by decomposition of metamorphic rocks. Okay, like granite. As you can see, decomposition, it means that these are the it's a result of the chemical weathering. Okay, so it is a chemical weathering that mainly is responsible for the formation of red soil. These soils are rich in iron, and you can see that it is the iron that gives the red color to the soil. Okay, so it is rich in iron but very poor in phosphorus, poor in nitrogen, humus, as well as lime. Okay, its characteristics are it's an in situ soil. So this soil is formed where it is formed. The texture overall is very coarse, and because the texture is very coarse, the soils are very porous. Porous means the soil has lot of pores, P-O-R-E-S. Okay, so water can go through it a bit easily. Similarly, as far as structure is concerned, the arrangement of soil particle is concerned, it is very crumbly kind of structure. You might have seen breadcrumbs. Okay, breadcrumbs is something that we know. Okay, so breadcrumb का जो structure होता है, so that is the kind of crumbly structure of this soil, and this soil does not contain much moisture. The crops that can be more suitably grown in this region include wheat, include rice, include cotton, sugarcane, pulses. Okay, obviously this can be grown with the use of fertilizer, because we have seen that this particular soil is very poor in phosphorus, poor in nitrogen, lime and humus. So all these nutrients and minerals needs to be added to the soil, okay, so that the crops of all these kinds can be taken. As far as distribution is concerned of this red soil, please see the legend of the map and ignore the sandy soils. Only just talk about red soils. Okay, so if you see the red soils, you can find that red soils are found all over the eastern part of our country. Okay, as mentioned in the table, eastern parts of the Deccan Plateau. There are also, that is especially parts of Tamil Nadu, parts of Andhra Pradesh, that is today's Telangana, then parts of Jharkhand. I mean the Chota Nagpur Plateau physiographically. You can also see red color soil found in extreme northeastern states. Okay, also the parts of Western Ghats, I mean especially the Western Maharashtra. Okay, and the parts of central and southern Karnataka, and as already I have mentioned about Western Tamil Nadu. So these are the distribution. These are the regions of red color soil. And what you can see, the picture is the picture of the granite, which is the parent rock of this particular soil or the red soil. Okay, so this is how red soil looks. It's very red in color. It's mainly because of very high iron content. Okay, in this soil. And this is just an example of the field, the example of the agricultural farm or agricultural field in this particular soil, red soil. Okay, coming to the third important soil, and that is black soil, that occupies about 15% area of the country. Black soil obviously is black in color, and it is, the parent rock is mainly basalt, right? And you know that basalt is formed by the Deccan lava, and therefore black soil is basically a result of weathering of volcanic rocks, like basalt, which is formed by Deccan lava. Okay, as we have studied in physiographic divisions about the Deccan Plateau, you can easily imagine that the black soil is found where. So it will basically found over the Deccan Plateau. Okay, or that is the, which is a reserve, which is a igneous, made up of igneous rocks. As far as composition is concerned, black soils are very rich in potash, lime, iron, magnesium, alumina, calcium, but very poor in nitrogen and humus. So obviously, for agriculture purpose, it will require the fertilizers, that is with having nitrogen and humus. The characteristics are in the in situ soil, and that's the reason why basalt is found all over Deccan Plateau. Okay, and the soil is also found there. The soil is found where it is formed, so it is an in situ type of soil. The soil has very fine texture. I mean, the grain particles are very small in size, and it's a moisture retentive soil. It retains a lot of moisture, as I said, because of its fine texture, and therefore the soil remains wet for a very long period of time. And when it becomes dried up, it cracks. You have seen the typical picture of a drought land, where you can see the lot of cracks in the land develop. So that particularly occurs because of black soil, because the soil is otherwise very sticky when it is wet, and when it dries up, it like becomes a huge blocks of soil with lot of cracks in it. Okay, then sugarcane, tobacco, oils. So these are the crops that suitably grown in soil. And as distribution, I have already told you, it includes the entire Deccan Plateau. It includes Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, okay, Gujarat, and all these areas are included. Okay, so these also because it is salt, and it is Maharashtra, and Maharashtra is largely occupied by this kind of rock. So basalt is very familiar to us. You can see the deep black color of this soil in which the crops are taken. Okay, it's a very deep black color soil, and it is also called as black cotton soil because the cotton is quite favorably grown in the region. Okay, and that's the reason why the soil has got the name of cotton soil. Okay, so That's all. Let's stop here. So overall, we have seen that we have seen three different soils today: alluvial soil, red soil, and black soils. Okay. So I suggest you to access the online material on NCRT books or NIOS site and read about these different type of soils in the learning material. We will continue our discussion of soils in the next class. Okay. Thanks a lot.